Very good morning to one and all. In this presentation today, we are going to discuss about the generator characteristics and build-up of EMF in a DC generator. Right. In the previous classes, we discussed in detail about the armature reaction and then what is meant by commutation and what are the effects of the commutation, and then how these commutation can be improved by using different methods like resistance switching and then EMF commutation. We have seen all those topics. Now, it is very important to know the characteristics of the DC generator, and also actually how the buildup of EMF is taking place in this DC generator is also very important. In order to know the application, so which generator will be used for what type of application can only be known if you know the characteristics of the generators, right? So I would like to just revise a small comparison between self-excited and separately excited generators once before going to exactly the characteristics of the DC generators, right? So first we'll start comparison between self-excited generator and a separately excited generator. Here if you observe, this is the circuit diagram or symbolic representation of the self-excited generator, and this is a separately excited generator. So the main difference between these two is, if you observe, the shunt field winding is connected across the armature, and here the field winding is separately excited with a external DC source here with a variable resistance and through the ammeter that is connected here. So if we compare this one in the self-excited generator, the shunt, I would like to mention the currents what are flowing in this circuit. IA is the armature current, IS is the shunt field current, and I or IL are one and the same, which is nothing but the load current. We solved problems based on this also in the previous classes, right? Coming to the separately excited generator, the field winding is separately excited with the DC source, right? So to measure the field current, we can make use of an ammeter here. And coming to the armature side, armature is directly connected through the load here. So current flowing through the load is I, which is nothing but the armature current in this condition. So this is the basic difference between self-excited generator and separately excited generator. Now we'll go through the other comparisons. In this self-excited generator, it is coupled magnetically and electrically. So what actually mean here, the shunt field winding is connected electrically through this connection and magnetically also. But coming to the separately excited, it is coupled magnetically but isolated electrically. What is the meaning of isolated electrically? Because the field is being excited with a separate DC source, not with the voltage generated in the armature, right? So that is why we are calling it as a isolated electrically. There is no connection between the field winding and the armature winding. That we need to understand here. Next, coming to the field current depends on the armature voltage. Obviously, in the case of self-excited generator, the field current depends on the armature voltage, because how much current that is flowing here, it depends upon the armature voltage only. And it is independent of the armature voltage in case of separately excited. Why? Because if I am changing the variable resistance here, I can control the field current flowing through the field winding in the separately excited generator. So it is independent of the armature voltage. Next, coming to the characteristics, volt time characteristics, very wide volt time characteristics for the self-excited generator here. So if x-axis is T and y-axis is E, you can see it is a very wide characteristics, very gradually increasing as time increases. Here the generated voltage is gradually increasing. It is a wide volt time characteristics for the self-excited. And coming to the separately excited, it is a very fastly it is increasing, and then it reaches very quickly the rated generated voltage here in case of separately excited generator. And next, rise of voltage is very slow, as I mentioned to you. By seeing the graph itself, we can observe it is the rise of voltage is very gradually done here in the case of self-excited, and in the separately excited generator, it is very fast. And next, the field current or the pole flux depends upon the loading condition, no doubt. In case of self-excited generators, the field current or the pole flux, how much pole flux that will be done, produced, depending upon the loading condition. As the load on the machine increases, the pole flux also increases here, right? But here, it is independent, the field current or the pole flux is independent of the loading conditions because it is separately excited. The field winding is being separately excited with the DC source. So, that difference we can observe here. And here, coming to the voltage regulation, it is very slow in voltage regulation of self-excited and is very fast in case of separately excited generator. Right. It is not useful for exciting the field of an alternator because it is very slowly that has been done. The characteristics, it is not used for alternators. But coming to this separately excited, it is very useful for exciting the field of an alternator. Right. And some other comparisons are it is not used in the control self-excitators are not used in the control systems. Probably it will be used in the control system separately excited. And it cannot be operated in saturation condition as the field current drops along with the load voltages. So and it can be operated separately excited generators can be operated in saturation condition also as the field current remains constant even if the armature voltage is dropped. So that is all because of separately excitation. And self-excited has a drooping voltage characteristics and but in case of separately excited, it almost constant or flat voltage characteristics will be there. So with this we can understand one point, depending upon your application, that is the requirement. So what type of characteristics you require, according to that we are going to choose the type of the DC generators. Right. And then it can be used as a power amplifier, shunt excited generator, and it can be used as a DC power amplifier in control systems at the constant mechanical power input. So if you are going to maintain constant mechanical input, nothing but the speed, then it can also be used as a DC power amplifier in control systems. Right. With this, we had a brief discussion about a comparison between self-excited generators and as well as the separately excited generators. Completely, we made a comparison. Now, I would like to introduce the characteristics of DC generators. Now, as I mentioned you earlier, characteristics of DC generators must be known to us before choosing a particular DC generator for the application of a particular application what we require. So, for that, we must have an idea of characteristics of the different types of DC generators, right? So, coming to the classification of characteristics of DC generators, we had mainly three categories, and those three are no load saturation characteristic curve. Within the brackets I mentioned here, E naught by IF. This is drawn between E naught and IF. This is the first characteristic. And coming to the next one, it is called as internal or total characteristics. It is drawn between the generated voltage E and the armature current IA. So this terminology is very very important. Between what parameters we are drawing characteristic curves, their naming has given here. So coming to the external characteristic curves, external characteristics. The external characteristics are drawn between voltage and current, terminal voltage and the load current here. So external, finally, where we are getting the output from the DC generator, there we are going to draw a characteristics between the terminal voltage and the corresponding load current. So depending upon the time, I would like to explain the characteristics of the DC generators here. First, we'll start with the no load saturation characteristics. Alright. So these characteristics are also known as magnetic characteristics or open circuit characteristics. So in order to get the no load saturation characteristics, as the name itself including that, there won't be any load on the DC generator. So we are opening the load terminal, so we can also call it as open circuit characteristics, OCC. So, it shows the relation between the no load generated EMF in armature, which is represented as E naught, and the field, also called as exciting current IF, at the given fixed speed. So, we can draw these open circuit characteristic curves for different speeds. But if we consider one speed, we can draw one open circuit characteristic curve corresponding to that speed. So here one important point is the speed has to be maintained constant and nothing but kept fixed. And as the field current is changing, we are going to obtain how the generated EMF in the armature is changing. So that curve will give you the open circuit characteristic curves of a given DC generator. And it is also called as magnetization curve. It depends upon the material of the electromagnet. So its shape is practically same for all the generators, whether it is separately excited or self excited. And we know that under self excited, again we have different types of generators, like shunt generator, series generator, compound generator. In the compound generator also we have long shunt compound generators, and then short shunt compound generators. So irrespective of all these types of generators, its shape will be same for all types of generators, because it is nothing but simply the magnetization curve for the particular generator, which is made with a particular material here. So it is a characteristic of the material. So obviously it will be same for all types of generators. So that is why it is called as a magnetic characteristic curve or magnetization curve. Right. So the next one is internal or total characteristic curve. Here, this characteristic curve gives a relation between EMF. What is this EMF? Earlier case also it is drawn between EMF and field current IF there. But here it is EMF means what this E actually induces in the armature. That is, after allowing the demagnetizing effect of the armature reaction and the armature current. So earlier in the previous case, here E naught means the total EMF induced in the armature. But here in the internal characteristic curve, after deducting the demagnetizing effect of the armature reaction from the E naught, we will get capital E. And this internal characteristic curve is specially drawn between this E and the armature current IA. So, and the main purpose of these internal characteristic curves here is required for the designers designing a particular DC generators. And next, what do you mean by external characteristic curves? In the external characteristic curve, it is drawn between the terminal voltage and the load current, and it is also called as performance characteristics or voltage regulation curve. Voltage regulation curve here. And it gives a relation between the terminal voltage V and the load current I here. This curve obviously lies below the internal characteristic curve, because by the name itself it is an external characteristic curve. So after getting a EMF generated in the armature, that won't be the same at the terminal voltage. After deducing your armature reaction drops and your armature resistance drops, finally the voltage that is obtained at the terminal of the load will be definitely less than the generated voltage E naught. So that is why this curve definitely lies below the internal characteristic curve. Next, the value of V is obtained by subtracting IARA from the corresponding values of capital E. So here, if you observe, there are three voltages: E suffix 0 or E naught, and the next voltage is E, and then the terminal voltage V. So E naught is the voltage generated in the armature. Then what is E? After deducing your demagnetizing effect of the armature from E naught, we will get E. And then what is V? So deducting IARA drop from the E, we will get the terminal voltage V. So E naught, E, and then V. So V will be less compared to E, and E is less compared to E naught. So here, in judging the suitability of a generator for a particular purpose, it is obtained in two ways. These external characteristics will be obtained in two ways. That is, by making the simultaneous measurement with a suitable voltmeter and ammeter and a loaded generator, or by loading the generator, we are getting the characteristic of how, as the load increases, how this load voltage are changing, that can be obtained. And next one is graphically from the OCC provided, the armature and the field resistance are also known. So this is how the external characteristics of a DC generator can be calculated. Now, till now we have seen what actually the meaning of different characteristics like no node saturation characteristic curve, internal characteristic curve, and then finally what is the external characteristic curve. We just define what are those characteristic curves. But now we are going to see individually how we are going to get these values. The experimental procedure for that we are going to see individually. So first I'll start with no load saturation characteristic curves, nothing but it is a graph drawn between E naught and IF here. And you can observe here the arrangement that is required to plot this curve. First, I would like to explain this arrangement. So, suppose if you observe, we are taking these characteristics for a separately excited generator. So, in the starting of this presentation, I mentioned you the difference between a separately excited generator and a self-excited generator. So, first we are starting with a separately excited generator. Like, if you see this one, this is a field winding which has been excited with a separate DC source through a potentiometer or potential divider through the ammeter. So, this ammeter is to measure the field current IF. And initially, the potential divider will be in zero potential position. It must be at this initially, it must be at this position. And coming to the armature, armature is connected across the voltmeter is connected across the armature to measure the armature voltage generated. So, because our intention is to draw a characteristic curve between E naught versus the field current. So, as I am changing the field current, how the generated voltage in the armature is changing, we would like to know about that. So, and next there is a graph I have drawn. Here on the x-axis we have taken the field current IF and on the y-axis we are taking E naught, which is nothing but generated voltage in the armature. Right. So this arrangement is required to plot this curve. And the field current IF is obtained from external DC independent DC source, and ammeter reads the field current IF. If I am gradually increasing the field current IF, the flux increases, phi which is produced by the magnetic field increases. Hence, the EMF generated E also increases directly so long as the poles are unsaturated. So, if you are go on increasing the field current here, obviously the field flux increases and the rate of change of flux linking with the armature conductors increases. So, EMF induced in the flux in the armature also increases. So, E naught gradually increases and reaches a value maximum. So, as long as the poles are unsaturated, this process will be continued. This is how we are getting graph from 0 like O, D and B here. Next, separately excited generator load saturation characteristic curve. Now we are going to discuss about the load saturation characteristic curve. So this curve is showing the relationship between the terminal voltage V and the field current IF, because the load saturation curve concerned with the load. How as I am increasing load on the separately excited DC generator, then how the variation will be done will be very clearly explained with the help of this diagram. So, if you observe on this x-axis, we are considering the current, and y-axis E naught is the voltage I am considering. So, the straight line, as I mentioned earlier, the straight line here it is E naught, nothing but the EMF generated in the armature. So, after that, if you consider this IARA is the voltage drop here, and we are replicating the same here by reducing this one. So, by deducting the armature reaction drop, we will get the next characteristic that is E. E is actually voltage induced in the armature after deducting the armature reaction drop. Then, after reducing the armature voltage drop, IARA drop from the E, we will get B here. So, these characteristics curve completely give you the load saturation characteristic curve. So, it is also known as load saturation curve. This curve is deduced from the no load saturation curve provided the values of armature reaction and armature resistance are known. So, we can obtain only this load saturation curve if we know the values of armature reaction and as well as armature resistance. So, with the given value, if these values are known, we can easily obtain this load saturation characteristics. Now, in the previous discussion, we discussed about no load curve for a separately excited generator. Now we'll discuss about what is a no load curve for a self excited generator. Here, if you observe this diagram, it seems to be like a separately excited generator. So we want to tell you one point here. I want to tell you one point here. The OCC or the no load saturation characteristic curve for a self excited generators, whether shunt or series connected, obtained in the similar way. So in the way in which we have obtained the no load curve for a separately excited generator, it will be the same procedure even for either self excited of shunt or series generator. So here what we will do, we will disconnect the particular shunt field winding from the shunt generator and we will connect it through the external DC source through an ammeter and through the resistance, through a variable resistance in order to control the field current. Even for series generator also, the field has been excited separately and we will get the open no load curve or nothing but open circuit characteristic curve. So the procedure for obtaining OCC for even separately excited generator or self excited generator, in the self excited generator also either shunt or series, the procedure is one and the same. And the field winding of the generator, whether shunt or series wound, is disconnected from the machine and connected to the external source of direct current as shown in the figure. So that you can observe here. The graph also you can observe the x-axis is the field current and y-axis is E naught and the characteristics is like this A, B or starting from this right line if you can observe. If you can observe the O to A is a small residual voltage that is existing in the field. Initially there will be very small voltage that is present in the armature. All this is because of the residual voltage in the field poles. So as gradually increases, the field current is zero also, there will be a small voltage that will exist in the generator. And gradually if we are increasing field current, gradually the generator voltage also increases. Now, and there are two important parameters that should be known very clearly coming to the shunt generators. Those are critical resistance and critical speed. These are very, very important concepts concerned with the shunt generator. Here, I would like to define what is the critical resistance. Till now, we have seen what is OCC. From the OCC, we can calculate what is the critical resistance. So this can be explained with the help of this graph. We have taken one graph OCC, x-axis is IF and y-axis E I have considered here, and I have drawn one OCC O and this is B point. Right. Now, if R is increased so much that the resistance line does not cut the OCC at all. So, here we are considering one line, let's start with the OB and it is gradually moved to the left hand side. First it is OB and gradually moving to the left hand side. Now it is OA and now still I increase, this is OC, still I increase, this is OT. Different lines we have taken, tangents we have taken here. And we'll observe what are these all lines and how to calculate your critical resistance and what is its impedance. And then obviously the machine will fail to excite here. So what happens if I am go on increasing this line from here to here, what happens? This line is not at all touching the OCC, not at all intersecting with the OCC. And so at this condition, it does not build up the voltage. So what should be this is what should be the this resistance, this is called resistance line. This is called resistance line. So if the resistance line just lies along the slope, then that value of the field resistance just excites the machine. So if you observe, if I am going to draw a tangent to the linear portion of the curve, then what happens? This gradually parallels with the characteristic of OCC and it will go through this one. That particular point, if I drop to the x-axis and y-axis, then particular voltage by that concerned current will give you the resistance value. So in that similar fashion, we can calculate different resistance values for this OCC. But which resistance is known as a critical resistance? It is known as the just exit the machine. It is just exit the machine. So if the resistance line just lies along the slope, then the value of the field resistance just exit the machine. So that resistance is called as critical resistance, which is represented by RC for a given speed. So if you consider in the earlier discussion, we talked about this OCC will be drawn for a particular speed, right? Here we consider a fixed speed. I have drawn one OCC. For that OCC, we have to calculate what is the critical resistance RC. So till now we have discussed about what is the critical resistance, definition of the critical resistance, and if the critical resistance is not maintained, the generator does not able to build up the voltage. So we should see such that it should be minimum critical resistance, minimum value of the resistance has to be maintained. Now, there is another concept known as if OCC for one speed has given to us, and we need to draw the OCC for a different speed. So the information related to OCC at one speed has given to us. Then how to draw the OCC for another speed? That is possible with this existing data, right? So let me start this explanation. I considered one graph here. This is the x-axis field current and y-axis is the volts. So I am starting the first point. I considered one speed N1 and I have drawn one OCC, open circuit characteristic. Now, what they have asked is, they have given the second speed, but we need to draw the OCC from the existing data. So, for one particular fixed speed, the OCC information is given to us. We need to draw the OCC or obtain the OCC for the given speed, given another speed. So, here N1 is known to us, N2 is known to us. We know the voltage is generated for the first speed. That is why we have drawn OCC. But this N2 at N2 OCC is not known to us. Then how to draw this N2 at N2 OCC? That can be obtained with the relation here. Let data is given OCC for a generator running at a fixed speed. Say let us it is N1. Now we are going to draw OCC at another speed, say capital N2, can be deduced from the existing OCC of a particular speed N1 which is known to us. So it can be calculated from the proportionality condition, where E is directly proportional to the speed. So whatever may be the EMF that is induced in the particular generator is directly proportional to the speed at which the generator is rotating. So based on that one, we can deduce one equation, E2 by E1 equal to N2 by N1. So E1 and N1 are concerned with the case 1, E2 and N2 are concerned with the case 2. So with this I can deduce the equation E2 equal to E1 into N2 by N1. So E2 is unknown voltage concerned with the case 2 of speed N2. So with this we can calculate the new value from this diagram. I am just showing one calculation part here. E2 equal to, what is E1? E1 is HC. E1 is HC. So HC into N2 by N1. Nothing but your E2. So in terms of the representation on the graph, it is simply HD. So we can identify one point, nothing but D point on the curve of OCC of a second condition by using this formula. In the similar way, we can also calculate other points on the second graph of OCC, and after calculating all those points and putting on the graph, we can simply joining all those points, we'll get the OCC for a second speed N2. In a similar way, other such points can be found and the OCC at N2 can be drawn. Next. Next, as I mentioned you earlier, I would like to talk about the critical speed. What is the meaning of critical speed? So here the critical speed of a DC shunt generator is at the speed for which the generator shunt field resistance represents the critical resistance. So this is the speed concerned with the critical resistance is known as the critical speed. So for better understanding, I would like to explain with the help of this graph, as x-axis taken as IF and y-axis E, and now there are two curves, curve 1 and curve 2. Curve 1 stands for speed n, and what is a curve 2? Curve 2 is nothing but your critical speed. So these can be calculated with the help of this formula here. If you observe, we have drawn a tangent to the curve 1, nothing but OA, and I am dropping this A point to the x-axis, that is nothing but point C here. And similarly, there will be tangent to the second curve, that is NC, and this is OB, and dropping this point to the C here, that is the corresponding voltage we can get and corresponding current we can get. So here, this is your RSH value. So in the previous slide, we discussed about critical resistance, right? Critical resistance. So here, critical speed of a shunt generator is that speed for which the given shunt field resistance represents the critical resistance. So from this, we can very easily calculate the NC value by using the formula BC by AC. So BC is concerned with the second curve OCC, and AC is concerned with the curve 1 here. So NC by full speed, which is equal to NC by N. So with this we can calculate what is the critical speed also. So critical speed is equal to BC by AC into full speed, that is represented with N and nothing but curve 1. So in this way, we can calculate, we can define what is the critical resistance, what is the critical speed, what is the importance of the critical speed and critical resistance with the help of these diagrams. Now, the next topic is a voltage buildup of a DC generator. So, actually how the voltage has built up, because nothing but this is a OCC, how it has been built up, we have seen in the generator when we are drawing OCC. As we are increasing the field current, the flux that is produced by this field increases, so that the flux linkages increases, and because of the flux, the rate of change of flux linkages and EMF is getting induced in the armature, so EMF is generated. So that will be still clearly explained here by step procedure here. We can very clearly understand this graph. X-axis I have considered the field current, and y-axis is induced EMF, that is easy here. So before loading the shunt generator, it is allowed to build up its voltage. We never put the load on the shunt generator without the completely voltage has been built up. So first of all, the generator is allowed to build up its voltage first. Then only once it reaches its rated voltage, then only the load can be put on the DC generator. So let me tell you one point here. I talked about the residual magnetism. So initially, the residual magnetism will be present in the DC generator, so that because of this one, very small voltage will also always exist in the generator initially. By reason, if residual magnetism is not present in the DC generator, we have to create this residual magnetism by separately exciting the generator first. Then only we can allow the generator to build up the voltage. Otherwise, there won't be any build up of voltage in the generator. And next, this will be discussed in detail in the failure of voltage buildup of an DC generator in the coming slides. But I would like to mention this residual magnetism. This I can mention here 0 OA, O small a is the residual voltage here. Hence a small EMF is produced initially. This EMF circulates a small current in the field circuit, which increases the field flux. So this with the flux increased, generated EMF increased, and which further increases the flux and so on. So you see here first the initial voltage is OA. With this voltage, so what happens is the corresponding field current, and then with this field current, what happens? Still the EMF increases by point C. Then what happens again? Still voltage is increased and the corresponding field current is a D. and because of this increase in the field current, again the voltage increases up to this, and this will be increased still further the field current, and now because of this one the voltage induced is up to C, and this is a continuous cumulative process, and it will reach a saturation point here, a point P here. So this is how we are getting a open circuit characteristic curve, and how the voltage has been built up in a DC generator. So this can be given by the formula E is equal to IF into RSH plus LdIF by dt, a rate of change of flux linkages, right, plus IF into RSH. This is nothing but your generated voltage. And we must know what are the conditions that are required for a self-excited generator to build up the EMF or voltage. So, as I mentioned earlier, there must be some residual magnetism in the generator poles. Definitely, there must be some residual magnetism. This is the starting a very small voltage will be possible with this residual magnetism only. And for the given direction of rotation, the shunt field coils should be correctly connected to the armature. Otherwise, the induced current reinforces the EMF produced initially due to the residual magnetism. So, it should be connected such that the EMF has to be increased gradually. If not, what happens? There won't be any induced EMF in the generator. So that point is also important. And if excited and open circuit, its shunt field resistance should be less than the critical resistance. Now we discussed about the critical resistance in this presentation. So its value should be like less than the critical field resistance. And if excited and load, the shunt field resistance must be more than the certain minimum value of resistance which is given by the internal characteristic curve. Right, till now we discussed about what are the characteristics of DC generators, what are the different characters that will be there, why should we know about these characteristics, and then we started our presentation with a comparison between self and separately excited generators, and then how voltage has been built up in the DC generator. All these points we have discussed, and along with that one we completely discussed about what is the critical field resistance, what is its importance, and what is the critical speed also we have learned. And along with that one, for a particular case they have given OCC, how to draw the OCC for other speed also we have discussed. Thank you, one and all.